all you cool cats and kittens, we're going to be doing some box and whisker plots today, okay? I thought it would just be easier to kind of explain how the box and whisker plot works as we go. So we're going to go ahead and just do one, crank one out, okay? The first thing that you want to do with a box and whisker plot is you want to put your data, that's what these are just data, okay? It's just numbers. But you want to put it into numerical order, and I'll tell you why in a second, okay? So I'm going to rearrange these. I'm going to put these into numerical order. I know that I have 8 pieces of information or 8 pieces of data, 8 numbers, and so I'm just going to put them in order from smallest to greatest. So I have 2 3s, a 4, 5, 6, whoops, not 56, and 8 and 9, okay? Now, a box and whisker plot, what it does is it basically divides your data, okay, into quarters. It divides it into 4s, okay? So quarters are 4. We're just going to split this data into 4s, okay? So imagine if you had a pizza, right? And you're going to split it into 4. You're going to split this pizza with 4 of your friends, okay? You're going to have to cut that data or cut that pizza in half first, right? So you're going to cut it in half, okay? And then you're going to cut it in half again, okay? And this is going to ensure that you and your 4 or 3 friends get the same amount of pizza. So that's what we're going to do with this information, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is cut it in half, okay? And so I'm just going to draw a line to split our information in half. So I have 8 numbers, and if I divide it in half, then I'm going to have a line going right there, okay? I have 4 numbers over here, and I have 4 numbers over there. Now, this is why we put it in numerical order, because it doesn't make sense to look at our original numbers all out of whack and be like, oh, I'm splitting this perfectly in the middle. That's not how that works. You definitely want to get it in numerical order so that you can split it in half nicely, okay? So once you get this in half, okay, then you're going to take each half, each piece, right, and you're going to cut that in half, okay? Now, before we do that, one of the first things that you need to know is that when we cut this in half, we're cutting it into its median. So I don't know if you guys remember how a median works, right? But you're going to have to find what this number is. So what is the actual number that is directly in between these 2 halves? So remember, you're going to take 4 plus 5 and divide it by 2 to get that answer, okay? And so the number that is directly in between 4 and 5 is 4.5, okay? All right, now let's start working on our 2 halves, okay? So I'm going to go write these numbers over here, 2, 3, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to write this half over here, 5, 6, 8, and 9, okay? So here I have my 2 halves. I got it split by my median. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split both of these in half. So if I have 4 numbers, I'm just going to draw a line, cut it right smack in half, okay? I have 4 numbers. I'm going to draw a line, cut it right smack in half, okay? Now, we need to find what this actual number is, just like we did before with the median. We found what the actual number was. So what number is directly between 3 and 3? Well, just a 3. This number has a name, and we call it the lower quartile, okay? Or we call it Q1, okay? So one more time, we call it a lower quartile. And since, you know, us mathematicians, right, we're all really super lazy, and that's just too many letters to write on our paper, we just call it LQ or Q1, okay? This one over here we call the upper quartile, because this is the middle of the top half. And so we call it the upper quartile, or the Q2. Okay, and again, we're just lazy, and so we don't always write out these names. Okay, now let's go find these actual numbers. What is the actual lower quartile? What is this number? So same thing, when you have two of them, remember you have to add them and divide by 2. So 3 plus 3 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. Some of you are just going to know, hey, it's a 3, Hunsicker, right? This one, what's halfway between 6 and 8? What's directly in the middle? A 7. If you want to do the actual work, right, you would do 6 plus 8, which is 14, by the way, divided by 2 is 7. Okay? Now, a couple of other special numbers that we need to have. We need to know what our minimum number is, and we need to know what our maximum number is. Okay, and so in our data, this is the other reason why we put it in numerical order, so that we can see it a little bit better. So our minimum number is a 2, our maximum number is a 9. Okay, and then keep in mind, right, we have these other special numbers. Sometimes I like to call these the Fab 5. Okay, these are the Fab 5 numbers. Right? Our minimum, our quartile, our median, our upper quartile, and our maximum. Sometimes, again, I call them the Fab 5, okay? Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this data, and we're going to draw a box and whisker plot out of it, okay? So, knowing that I'm going to go from 2 to 9, my smallest number is 2, my biggest number is a 9, I'm going to draw a number line. And when I draw the number line, I'm ignoring my Fab 5 for a moment. I'm just going to go from 2 to 9, okay? So I'm going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, let me go get these labeled. And then what you're going to do is you're going to draw a box and whisker plot, okay? Now, if you don't remember what a box and whisker plot looks like, let me show you really super quickly, okay? The box and whisker plot literally looks like a box with a whisker on both sides, okay? Now, typically, the box is going to have a line drawn down the middle, but these locations represent our Fab 5 points. So these numbers right here, notice I just put 5 red dots. That is what I like to call our Fab 5. Okay, those are the 5 special numbers. Now, this number is your minimum, and this number is your maximum. So if I'm going to draw a box and whisker plot for our data before, my minimum number was a 2, my maximum is a 9, so I'm going to put a dot and a dot. Those are the edges or ends of my whiskers. Okay, let's go back and look at that again. Okay, so I put a dot for min and a dot for max. 2 and 9. All right, now, what was this number? What do you think this number represents? Okay, so I'm hoping that you're saying that is the median. And so the median is going to get a line. Okay, so let's go back and find our median. What was our median? Our median was 4.5. So on my number line where 4.5 is, I'm going to draw a line. And I'm just kind of putting it above the number line, okay? So that's the middle. That's the middle of my box. Now, this side of the box is going to represent your lower quartile, and this side of the box is going to represent your upper quartile. And so your lower quartile is going to get a line, your upper quartile is going to get a line, and that's what creates that box. So let's go do that. Lower quartile we have at 3, so where my 3 is, here's one side of my box. Okay. My upper quartile is all the way over there at 7, and so here's that box. And now that I know where the box is ending, I'm just going to draw the whiskers. And there we go. That's what it looks like. All right, so now we're just going to do a little bit of practice, okay? I'm actually going to go through a couple of problems with you, and then we will try some on our own, okay? So the first thing you want to do, remember, when box and whisker plots, is you want to put your numbers into numerical order. This is how you're going to be able to split them perfectly in half, okay? So I'm going to pause my screen and go do that. Sometimes that's the hardest part, is getting them into numerical order. So as I started to go through and do it, I got to 30, and then I was like looking, oh, I had a 23 I totally forgot about. Notice that I crossed the numbers out as I write them down. That does help you get them into numerical order. And then you'll notice over here I left out, there were 2 32s. Check that out. And I left those out too. So you just have to kind of be careful, okay? All right, now, here comes our Fab 5, right? We need a minimum number, a maximum number. We need our quartiles, okay? And this worksheet is a little bit weird. I kind of don't like it, but this should be a median, okay? And so this Q3 is kind of like our upper quartile. And so it's just worded and looking a little bit different. But I promise you it's the same thing, okay? So we're looking for a lower quartile, a median, and an upper quartile as well. Those are going to be our Fab 5 points. All right, so if I go and look at our data, right, we had 11 numbers. So if I split it in half, 1, 2, 3, 4, let's put 5 numbers on one side, 5 numbers on the other side, which is going to leave a perfect 23 to be our median. So 23 is the middle number. My lowest number is 8. My highest number is 39. Okay? Now let's go find the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So if I go look at these 5 numbers, which number is directly in the middle? Okay, and I'm hoping that you're saying 11. Okay? If I go look at the other 5 numbers, 29, 30, 32, 32, and 39, it looks like that first 32 is the number in the middle. Okay? So these are the Fab 5 numbers. Let's go get the box and whisker plot. So they already drew us a number line. Oh, thank goodness, I don't have to worry about that. But we're going to put a dot at 8. I'm going to put a dot at 39. I'm going to put a dot at 11, a dot at 23. You could be putting lines if you wanted, and a dot at 32. I know these are my whiskers, and here's where my box is. Okay? Be super careful. Your boxes and whisker plots are not always going to be perfectly spaced out. Okay? It's not always going to be a perfectly symmetric box and whisker plot. Okay? All right, let's go do number 2. All right, so I was a little more careful when I put these in numerical order this time. But now that I have them in numerical order, I can easily see my minimum number is 42. My maximum number is 72. I'm going to go split this data in half, and I think, yep, I have 9 numbers. So I'm going to put 4 and 4 on each side. My middle number is 58. When I take this side and I go find that middle number, I'm going to get a 45. When I do this side, the number in the middle is a 68. And I'm just going to go put those dots on my paper. So here we go. 42, 45 gets a line. 58 is going to be another line. 68 is a line, and 72 is the end of my whiskers. I can just draw this box, draw those whiskers. All right, so your assignment is going to be to try 3 of them on your own. Remember, when you're doing these, it's a little bit better if you remember this is going to be your lower quartile, median, upper quartile, okay? For your Fab 5 points. So if you want to go in and change that on your paper, probably not a bad idea, okay? Lower quartile, median, and upper quartile, Okay, so go try these 3. Let me know if you have questions.